regular meeting, Clear Lake City Council of Monday, June 1st, year 2020, shall come to order. Before I ask for the Pledge of Allegiance, location of council and staff this evening. To my right on dais is Councilman Dana Brandt. To my left is City Clerk Jennifer Larson. To my right, down in front, is Councilman Bennett Smith. To my left, in front, is Mike Callanan. In the audience, we have Scott Flory, our city administrator, and John Sorensen, our city attorney. Telephonically, we have this evening Joe Weigel, our Public Works Superintendent. We have Chief Pete Roth of the Clear Lake PD, and we have Mike Ritter, our building official. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We also have telephonically Councilman Gary Hugie and Councilman Mark Ebling. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mike, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Aye. Motion carries. To the consent agenda. You have a copy of the minutes of May 18th, 2020. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy, and we have the following licenses and permits. Liquor license, Class C, liquor license, LC, commercial, the Half Moon, that's a renewal. And we have an extension of outdoor service area, Lake Time Brewery. A cigarette permit, Quick Star number 223, and a Dollar General number 4616. Those are renewals. And a tree trimmers license, Affordable Tree Service, Clear Lake. That is a renewal. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under 5, new business, 5A, 2020 Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Plan, Amendment Number 1. Review of proposal, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just run through these items here in the packet. In the first green sheet in your packet is the resolution 20-1 Urban Renewal Plan Amendment for the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. And again, essentially, we've talked about this before, Chapter 403 of the Code of Iowa requires that before any new urban renewal projects are approved by the city, that the city must first amend our existing urban renewal plan to provide for the project itself. So essentially, that's what we're doing here with this resolution following the public hearing. On the back side of that green sheet is an actual copy of the proposed urban renewal plan amendment for the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. And again, it identifies the new project that we're talking about amending the urban renewal plan to include. And so I'll just again remind you the project, it's an economic development project with a private developer, includes a hotel, conference center, an event meeting center space, a Marriott branded hotel, 85 rooms. Conference center would have space for approximately 450 persons. Generally, it's about 8,600 square feet. City would provide forgivable loan to the developer, an amount not to exceed $1,200,000 that would be funded from incremental property tax revenues. City would also offer the developer an incremental property tax rebate for 10 years at an amount not to exceed $1,500,000. That's cumulatively, of course, with payments subject to annual appropriation by the City Council. And additionally, $300,000 in incentive payments would be made available to the developer from urban renewal tax increment funds as well. So again, that's the new project that's included in the plan amendment itself. Also, I would just add that prior to the public hearing, I have not received any written communication regarding the proposed amendment to the urban renewal plan. But while I'm up here, I'll just keep going. The pink sheet in your packet is a similar item for this project. It's a resolution that sets the date for a public hearing on a proposal to enter into a development agreement with this same developer for incremental property tax rebate payments in an amount not to exceed, as I mentioned in the urban renewal plan amendment, not to exceed $1,500,000 over 10 years. And essentially what the resolution indicates is the council would meet on June 15th for the public hearing in the council chambers here, 6 o'clock. The notification requirements on this is just a simple 4 and 20-day notice. So we would publish notice this Wednesday in the Mirror Reporter, so that would be June 3rd. On the back side of that resolution is the actual notice of hearing on the development agreement with JSM Investment that would be published in the newspaper, again indicating that the date of the hearing would be June 15th, 6 o'clock here in the council chambers on the proposal to enter into the property tax rebate agreement with the developer, again, with subject to annual appropriation in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000 over that 10-year period. Keep working the way through. May 4th council meeting is when we set the date for the public hearing that we're having this evening on June 1st. So part of that same meeting, we set the date for the consultation meeting that were required by the urban renewal law to hold with the school board and the superintendent and the board of supervisors. So we set that date again for May 13th. Held that meeting, invited written comment from both the county and the school district, did not receive anything on that, but again advised them that they would be welcome to make public comment as well at the public hearing this evening, June 1st. So again, have not received any written communication from the county or the school district on it. So I don't have anything further on this. I know we've talked about it quite a few meetings up to this point, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those prior to the public hearing.
Council, any questions for Scott?
No questions, but maybe a quick comment. What we've all experienced for the last 2.5 months is something those of us in my age category that have been around a little longer have never seen before. And I think it's truly amazing that we've still got a project of this scope alive and hopefully well and moving forward. I think it speaks a lot of our city leaderships. I think it speaks a tremendous amount of just the way people from the outside look at our community, and hopefully this thing will come together, and down the road a year we'll be looking at a real nice facility that, if things go real well, we can actually put 450 people in one room.
Well, I appreciate you pointing that out, Mike. I think those are all perfectly well said. Can't do any better than that. But it reminds me to also mention that the site plan for the project is set for next Tuesday evening for planning and zoning here in the council chambers for June 9th for that. So everything is going forward. Comments, I should have hit that as well. Also we previously gave them till June 15th, but everything's going fine, but they asked if they could get that extended to June 30th, and so I said I think that would be acceptable. So in our development agreement, we'll extend that from June 15th to June 30th, but I think, again, you've said it just exactly spot on, that I think given the issues that have plagued the hospitality industry right now, as you indicated, over the last 2.5, 3 months, with occupancy rates probably hitting the 20% or lower category, truly is remarkable to think that we have a group that is, and this also involves local investors as well, but are willing to make a $13 million investment like this in our community at this time. So I think that your point is perfectly made and well taken. I think it speaks very well to the community and leadership in the community for sure.
Any other questions? Thank you, Scott. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the 2020 Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Plan Amendment Number 1. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address that particular issue, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we close the public hearing with regard to the 2020 Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Plan Amendment Number 1. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, same, carried. Now, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2038. That is a resolution to approve the 2020 Consolidated Urban Renewal Area Plan Amendment Number 1. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve Resolution 2038. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2038 is duly adopted. 5B, City Beach Enhancement Improvement Project, project update, review of pay estimate number 4. Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The yellow sheet in your packet to address this item. It's pay application number 4, as the mayor indicated. The current payment due for pay application number 4 is in the amount of $241,724.22. Project's coming along well. I've got I'll read this from the project consultant, RDG. Several of us were down there this past week. We took kind of a walkthrough. I know Nelson and Mike were both down there and kind of had an on-site visit with the contractor. I can't say enough about Peterson, just a terrific contractor doing great work down there. So thrilled to have them involved in the project, and they're very patient with us, walking us through the site and showing us all the different things that are going on there, and the work is really impressive. So just give you the highlights of what's going on. This pay application consists of general conditions. Restroom building progress includes roof, decking, and rubber roofing. Site work progress includes completing retaining wall concrete and concrete paving for the water treatment plant. Splash pad progress includes completing splash pad concrete, splash pad feature embeds, and interior splash pad piping. The shade structure progress includes footings and structural steel. If you haven't been down there to see that, there's also, they got a lot of concrete now poured under the sunshade shelter structure, and it's really, I think, architecturally, with the way it kind of curves out on the front, sort of mimics a wave-like appearance, is really neat. It's a neat structure, and like I said, we were down there watching the roofing contractor do the roofing work this last week, and so it's coming along really, really well. Coming weeks will include restroom building windows, finishes, and exterior colored panels. Site work will include finished grading, sidewalks, and landscaping. Splash pad work will include interior piping, installing features, and system startup. Shade structure will include roofing and finishes. So, the project completion date is the 26th. So I guess we'll see in terms of where we're at on the governor's order, the proclamation that currently doesn't allow splash pads to be open. So maybe that will be abated by that time, but that's the completion date. And so things are going good towards that, so hopeful that that will be completed and be able to be used to some extent by that time. But I don't know if Mayor or Mike, you got any comments on that? You were both down there for the walkthrough, but I was really happy with the work and what's being done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't always go by it daily, but a lot of days I do, and it's just a real exciting project. And it seems like they really know what they're doing, and they're putting it together right, and I think it's going to serve us for a long time into the future, so I'm excited about it.
think I've said this before, but the crew that they have there are very helpful to us when we come around and, seem to have many of them and working very, very diligently to hopefully get that done on schedule, which may or may not happen here because the day we were there, it was quite muddy from a previous rain the evening before, and yet those guys seem to be plugging away, and what they do have done is very, very impressive, and it seems to be a great communicating group of Peterson Construction, and who's the superintendent, Carl?
Carl, yeah.
Carl was very, very helpful.
And I can't remember, they had a couple of things I forget now, maybe you'll remember, but because the COVID situation, they had kind of some
Right.
backlogs on a few things, so they were kind of important pieces. They were going to get them, but it was a little later than what they had hoped they would get them for. So a little bit of delay there related to the pandemic situation too.
Any other questions? Thank you, Scott. Entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 4 with regard to City Beach Enhancement Improvement Project to Peterson Construction, Webster City, in the amount of $241,724.22. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve pay estimate number 4. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 5C, Floodplain Management Ordinance Amendment. Review, Mike Ritter, Building Official. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mayor. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Council. In your packets, you'll have one of the later letters we received from FEMA. Early this spring, we were contacted by them to update our current floodplain management ordinance that we have. They've changed over the years. They've changed some terminology, added some different references and everything, and they sent us information of how they would like to have some of our language reworded. We've got that sent back. We got their approval, and those are the amendments that are in there with the different terminology, some words being omitted, and just different references that are in there. And by doing this, we will maintain our good standing with the National Flood Insurance Program, which is quite important to do. So I don't know if there's any questions from the council at all.
Council, any questions for Mr. Ritter? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor.
Therefore, entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 851, an ordinance amending the floodplain management ordinance of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Been moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we approve ordinance number 851, and this is the first of 3 readings. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mayor, I move that the requirement of Iowa Code Section 380.3, that a proposed ordinance or amendment be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed and be suspended and waived, and this ordinance be fully passed and adopted at this time.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we suspend the rules pursuant to Iowa Code Section 380.3 and place ordinance number 851 on the 3rd and final reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. And now I entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 851, an ordinance amending the floodplain management ordinance of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, on the 3rd and final reading. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we approve ordinance number 851. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dana? And Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And to 5D, ordinance number 852, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clear Lake by amending various code sections. Review, Chief Roth, are you there?
Yes, Mayor, thank you, and good evening, council. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you, and good evening.
Yeah, so I do want to thank Scott Flory, Jennifer Larson, and the mayor for helping us get these crafted. Most of those codes that you see in your packet, which I believe is tan, I can't really see the color, really is a bunch of cleanup language from various sections of our city ordinances related to this miscellaneous violations. Keeping prohibited was cleaned up. Section, the fireworks section, we had to clean up to a minimum $250 fine. That's set by state law. We can't go lower than that. We also worked with Mike Mueller over in Ventura to clean up our at-large for dogs or animal at-large language to close a loophole that we were running into in Clear Lake and in Ventura. I believe John Sorensen also helped with this too. Sorry, John, if you're in the audience, I didn't give you a shout out for that. We also cleaned up our parking language and also our impound language. The one thing that I don't know if Scott wants to talk about the speed zone, section 5, which we talk about, that section 6304, lowering that speed zone to 25 on Main Avenue. I know I've had some discussions with some council about that, and I know that affects the some golf carts that are trying to get permitted out from that Hidden Acres campground that was not around when we enacted the golf cart ordinance back in, I believe, 2017 or when we updated the ordinance. So,
Yeah, I can jump in on that one, Chief. I'll just jump in
Go
on
ahead.
that one, Council. Here on Section 5, what the Chief is talking about is that particular portion of this ordinance would provide for a modification to the speed zone ordinance of the city, and it essentially on Main Avenue would change the speed limit from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. So the zone that we're talking about is 0.4 of a mile. So basically it starts about 650 feet east of South 24th Street there. And just kind of in that, the brewery has the green former Kennedy shed. So right about in that area is where it changes from 25 to 35 miles an hour and continues 35 miles an hour out east on Main Avenue. So golf cart ordinance restricts golf carts to be operated on streets where the speed limit is no greater than 25 miles an hour. Now, I got a request from the owners and operators of Hidden Lakes campgrounds that they have a few of their tenants at the campgrounds that have golf carts and would like to operate them into town or to the golf course. So in talking to the chief, there's really two options on this, and this is the option that he presented. I think you could go two different options here. So if you didn't want to necessarily change the speed limit, you could also modify the golf cart ordinance and allow golf carts to be operated in this section of Main Avenue, again, east of basically 650 feet east of South 24th Street to Hidden Lakes entrance. So about that 3200 block of Main Avenue. We could also, if you wanted, if you prefer that, we could pull this out and consider these other items in this ordinance, and then we could bring back an amendment to the golf cart ordinance if that would be more preferential to you. But there are two ways to do it. So again, this one was to modify the speed limit, to change it so that it would be 25 miles an hour instead of 35, so golf carts could operate on it. But as I say, there's more than one way to skin this cat, so we could also modify the golf cart ordinance that just simply allows for the operation of golf carts in this area of East Maine that is currently, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. We could allow them to be operated there. I would just add, I run this route frequently, so I do see golf carts in there most of the time. It's a wide section of roadway. There's bike lanes, 5.5 foot, I believe, on each side. So it's wider than the typical streets in town. For example, like North Shore Drive is about like 31 feet. And we allow golf carts to drive there all the way out to the golf course, and there's cars and golf carts and bikes and everything else in there. So this street is wider than many that golf carts are allowed. I think the visibility is very long. You know, it's pretty wide open. There are not many conflict points with driveways and so forth. So, you know, it would be up to your discretion, but that's some background on that particular piece. If anybody wanted any more explanation on that, I'd be happy to respond to that further. I know that the campground is very desirous of that, and the owner, Eric Malstad, would have come this evening, but he's on vacation, and so he's going to be working, you know, on a more formal letter of request for that, so that could come back at your next meeting on June 15th.
Questions for Scott?
Scott, I just have a quick question. As a golf cart owner that's permitted in the city of Clear Lake, and I love it, and I drive all over where I can, if I'm in an area and I'm in another 35-mile-per-hour speed limit, does it create a little bit of conflict in an area where we permit it there and allow it there, but not others?
I don't,
playing devil's advocate.
You know, I look at things on a case-by-case basis, and I can only speak to this particular section of roadway. I'm on it daily. I know Mike bikes it daily, so it's one, but I can speak to this one that, you know, the visibility is very, very good for a long way. It's flat as maybe anywhere in the entire town. There are very few conflict points, so I mean, I don't know any of these other areas, so I would have to look at those.
I'm not sure that there is. I'm just thinking if I'm being a little derelict one day and go, hey, they're over there riding on that 35-mile-per-hour speed limit area, well, I'm going to do it over here. Just that concept of, I saw Mike do it, so I'm going to do it too.
Yep.
In a different part of town.
I don't have a golf cart.
Hard to blame you.
I suppose, you know, something like that could lend to some confusion, but I think, again, as I look at this section of roadway, I don't know what the average daily traffic is. It may be 800, you know, if I had to venture a wild guess, as opposed to accommodating maybe less than 10 golf carts that are seasonal,
Yeah.
for probably like 4 months. So I'm not sure the problem would be, I mean, it's okay to hypothesize about those things. I'm not sure that that problem may be that big.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I would like to just add, well, first of all, let me thank Chief Roth and Scott and everybody involved in looking at these things and upgrading our ordinances. I think that's a very productive process, so I do appreciate Chief Roth and the department looking at those in conjunction with our other staff. I tend to look at this and think that, you know, changing the speed limit is not something I'm prepared to do right now. I appreciate the discussions I've been able to have today with Chief Roth and others on the council. And so what I would like to do, Mayor, if I could, is I'd like to make a motion that we actually pull Section 5 from this ordinance regarding subsection 1F of Section 63.04 of Clear Lake City Code regarding changing the speed limit on Main from North 40th to the 32nd 100 block of Main Avenue. I'd like to pull that out, and then in lieu of changing the speed limit, I would recommend that we authorize Scott to propose a modification to our golf cart ordinance for our next meeting to specifically deal with the request from Hidden Lakes Campground regarding the use of golf carts on Main Avenue, and to consider actually extending the limit for golf carts out to 35th Street. So that would be my motion here on that.
Is it appropriate to ask for a second here?
Yeah, he's made a motion. Is there a second?
I will second that.
It's been made and seconded that we pull, correct me if I'm wrong on this, we pull Section 5 from ordinance number 852 regarding subsection 1F of section 63.04 of Clear Lake's City Code regarding changing the speed limit on Main Avenue from North 40th to the 32nd 100 block of Main Avenue. Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes, yes, it is, Mayor.
Okay. That is the motion. Is there any discussion on that withholding of section 5 from ordinance number 852?
I've got a couple of comments. I looked at this and did some private research on the deal, including riding my bicycle through the campground. I tried to look at each unit parked in there, and I came up with a count of 8 golf carts. And I don't think all of those were registered in a proper way to be operated on Clear Lake streets. But even if all 8 were, I just think back on the concept here of a very small number of golf carts that this would apply to, at least right now. Limited months when this would be effective, because there's nobody going to be out there in December through March with their golf cart tearing around. And to actually take an ordinance that bumped the speed from 25 to 35 in 2003 and change it for this very limited group of users, and basically maybe, I don't know if it create a hardship on the people that live out that way, but it would definitely make a big change on their daily transportation concepts. So I'm definitely in favor of looking at the other option here. And anyway, that's my comment.
Mayor, I think the idea too is to go to 35th. I think you said 32nd, but then it's,
5th Street.
yeah, going up to 35th, that would go up as far as the cul-de-sac and pick those residents up also. I believe that's 35th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and pick up about 30 homes up there.
That's an idea we could certainly discuss, yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, do a roll call. Gary?
Yes.
Mark? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, that we pull section 5 from the ordinance number 851. And now we need to go back, and correct me if I'm wrong on this process here, now we need to go back and approve number 851 with that particular section, which is section number 5, being eliminated until it becomes modified prior to our next meeting and acted upon by our next meeting. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve ordinance number 851 minus section 5. Yes, minus section 5. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, the only thing is, I believe it's 852, just to be clear
Pardon?
on that. Am I correct, Jennifer? We're on 852 for the record.
You're under D. You're under D.
Got it.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Got it. Sorry. Okay, we'll go roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dana? Bennett?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all, appreciate that. Chief, report?
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. I'll direct your attention to your packet, the blue sheet in the back are our April numbers. And just a reminder that tomorrow is our June outdoor warning siren test. And other than that, we have nothing really to report unless there's any questions.
Council, any questions for Chief? Thank you, Chief. Under Mayor's report, Mr. Schreck, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mayor.
You're on.
Great. Well, hey, thanks, Mayor, Council. Appreciate it. Appreciate they have the reappointment of Mark Ebling back to our board on the agenda. Definitely support that and appreciate his service to what we do. Just a few quick updates. Obviously, we had the unfortunate news this past week from Principal Financial and their decision to make all of their employees at the Mason City facility remote and will no longer have a physical presence. We've been in ongoing communication with them ever since, actually before it went public, and we'll be working with them through the next steps and what we can do to ensure that their employees do stay here, even though they can have the option to go anywhere. We hope to use it as a good example of our high quality of life and low cost of living, and use that in our high-speed internet access. Thanks to CityofClearLake providers, we think we can be a great place for work from home and activities. So we think that could be an area, especially as we see other businesses moving in this direction. I don't think this is anything unique to us. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of open office space across the country. But our hope is that we could really sell our area as a great place to live, and people that can work anywhere would choose places like ours due to the high quality of living, again, and safety and all the other positives that we all enjoy here. So, again, we'll continue working with that company and moving forward and things in that specific facility. Also, just want to congratulate everybody at the city on the hotel project. Really excited to see that continuing to move forward. It's a great and just will be a phenomenal asset to the community, to the region, especially in light of everything going on, as Scott noted, and the rest of you have. And I can say it's been encouraging to see some of the projects and deal flow we're seeing. We actually submitted a proposal today for a project with a few sites in the area, both in Clear Lake and Mason City. And, it's a 65,000 square foot facility. It would actually be warehousing distribution, 11 jobs. It would be a really good, high-paying jobs, averaging almost $70,000 in wages across those 11 jobs. So really positive. We're informed we're one of the top 10 or 12 under consideration. So we're going to continue to push that thing forward. But we've also had other leads recently. So very excited to see that. And now to close out, you should have received invitations to our annual meeting. Unfortunately, we have to move it virtual this year, but we'll be doing that June 11th at 11 a.m. And we hope you can all make it.
Any questions for Chad? Thank you very much, Chad. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stacy, are you there?
I am. Good
Great.
evening, everyone. I'd just like to echo Chad's congratulations on the hotel project. It is very exciting for the community, so nice work to the city for being able to move that project along. Also want to thank you for your support in the difficult decision of having to cancel the 4th of July activities. So again, just appreciate the backing and the collaboration that you guys had in making that decision. Looking ahead, we are trying to promote Clear Lake as a recreation destination. So coming out with different materials on how to safely visit Clear Lake and what kinds of things you can do and stay safe while you're visiting here. We have not yet reopened our office, but we are looking into getting the visitor center reopened here mid-June. So we've got to get some policies and procedures in place just to make sure that my team is safe and that those coming into the visitor center are safe. We did have a food truck Friday, 2 Fridays ago, and it was really well received. So now we're working with locations around the city to continue to have that food truck Friday. So those community members that run different food trucks will be able to have their goods for sale, especially since we can't have Thursdays on Main right now. So that's what we're up to.
Any questions for Stacy, Council? Thank you, Stacy, and appreciate you and your staffs working with members of our city and the unfortunate cancellation statement that we had to make last week. Great cooperation and great leadership there in the Chamber of Commerce that you are leading, and we appreciate that very much. As Mr. Schreck alluded to, now is the time and place for council to reappoint Mark Ebling to the North Iowa Corridor EDC Board. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we reappoint Mark Ebling to the North Iowa Corridor EDC Board. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now I have a quick proclamation here with regard to Relay for Life in Clear Lake, Iowa. As you may or may not know, the month of June is where the American Cancer Society always promotes the Relay for Life, and many times it's held in our city park. But because of restrictions that we have or have had, that will not be held this year, but they do have this short proclamation, and it states, whereas the Relay for Life movement continues to be the largest peer-to-peer fundraising event with 2.5 million participants globally uniting to save lives from cancer. Relay for Life of Saragordo County is an opportunity to celebrate people who have been touched by cancer, remember loved ones lost, and take action for life-saving change. Whereas funds raised at Relay for Life events help the ACS Fund and conduct breakthrough research and give cancer patients and their families the resources they need, like free rides to chemo, free places to stay near hospitals, and a live 24/7 helpline for answers and support. Therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor of Clear Lake, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2020 as Relay for Life Month. Thank you. One other thing, and that is, as the governor has stated recently, many restrictions have been lifted, one of which for our young people, boys and girls, baseball, softball, they are now able, I believe the start was this week, today, okay. And they will, I believe, start games June 15th, is that right? And so, good for those young people, really. I'm sure they're all anxious to look forward, those who are interested in softball and baseball, to get started and that be a part of their summer. That being said, with those restrictions being lifted, I noticed this past weekend and in weekends prior to this, we are having a lot of people come to our community and enjoy being in the community as well as enjoying the lake and surrounding area. And with that comes, we cannot become too careless with regard to COVID-19. Must maintain what we have in the past, and that is group size, social distancing, and if you're in large groups, especially inside, I would recommend you masking up, and as far as most people, perhaps masking outside as well. But be ever on guard to this. It is not gone. It is still there. And until we find a cure or a vaccine, it will continue to be there. So please be safe. Thank you. Number 8, Public Work Director's Report. Mr. Weigel.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple quick updates. Highway 18 project is moving along. If you recall, at our last meeting, I said they're having difficulty installing 4 of them traffic pole foundations. They brought in a contractor from outside with better equipment and materials to accomplish that with the high water table. They were able to get 3 of the 4 footings done in the last 2 weeks. They would have got the 4th one done, but because they were working on that southbound ramp concrete work, they had to hold off on that one. So he's scheduled to come back tomorrow to finish up that last foundation. KWS is continuing, installing the other traffic poles and arms there at 24th Street. They got everything pretty much ready to go there tomorrow morning. They're coming in early to shut the intersection down and do the wiring. And then in the morning, it'll probably be in flashing red until things get programmed, et cetera, with the cameras. The guy supplying it's coming up, I think, mid-morning to accomplish that. So that will be in flashing red for a period tomorrow to get that done. And they'll continue installing arms there at the off-ramps, and then on the east side, they got a couple poles and arms to install as well. So he was thinking hopefully by mid-June, he should have all 3 intersections, signalizations done. The DOT didn't have a definite date. The other thing remaining would be the permanent pavement marking. So hopefully that'll be done as well here in the next 2 weeks. The 4th Avenue South project is substantially complete. Heartland did the asphalt work there, as well as the 4 Winds Drive patching there mid-May. So we've done our final walkthrough. Jason's putting together a punch list for the contractor. So that project is pretty much complete. That's all, Your Honor.
Council, any questions, Mr. Weigel? Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Mr. Flory?
Mayor mentioned about some things opening back up. The playground equipment at the city parks is now back open, and particularly proud of the new piece down at City Parks. I don't know if you've been down there and had a chance to see it. Rumor is Mike was the first guy to go down the slide, but pushed a few small children out of the way to do it. But that was a very nice piece of equipment, and so real happy about that, and I think it looks great down there. So opened up most of our restroom facilities in the parks again as well, so getting close to getting fully operational there as well. Also, just give you a heads up for the next council meeting, probably we'll have a change order for the East Main project, talking to Wicks Construction. Jason and Joe have been. Looks like probably we'll be able to get an early start on that project, and in context of not having the parade on Main Avenue, so they'll be able to get a week or 2 head start, looks like, on that project. So that'll probably be coming at the next meeting. So, and I don't have anything else unless anybody has any questions.
Scott, quick question. So like in the park, if Zion wants to do church in the park, is that going to be permissible soon?
I know the chief and mayor have had some conversations with them about that, and I think the church is working on some protocols there for how that service would be handled, including things like communion and those kinds of things. So I think they're going to get back with the city and talk about their protocols, but I think the governor's proclamation enables that, allows them to have that. They have to ensure that social distancing is in place, so I think provided that they can do those things and present that to the chief and mayor and Park Board, I think they'll probably be okay. I think they're planning on maybe later in June, towards the end of June, maybe targeting for like a first service towards the end of the month, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott.